Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or maybe even good night, but whatever the time, welcome to Eat the Storms, the poetry podcast. My name is Damien B. Donnelly. I'm your host and producer, so whatever the time, the hour, the day, the year, whenever it is you've decided to tune in your preferred podcast platform, and that might be places like Spotify, Apple, Breaker, Podbean, Player FM, Overcast, Pocket Cast, Castbox, Podcast Addicts, iTunes, Amazon Music, or maybe even YouTube. Whatever or whenever you are looking for your poetic fix, Eat the Storms is here to deliver. And today I'm delighted to say that we don't just have 4 guests, but we have 7 fantastic poets joining us here on Eat the Storms. 4 of them are returning guests, and this season, as I've said every episode, I am so delighted to celebrate the continuing journey of all our Stormers, of all the voices and creators who've taken part in the podcast over the 10 years, while also welcoming new voices onto the show. And so I'm delighted to also welcome, along with those 4, 3 new Stormers to Eat the Storms today. We will be settling down here in Ireland, in the United States, and also over in the United Kingdom. And so, as we have such a full schedule today, let's get right on down and begin the show. You, as the audience, I'm sure at this point know all that you need to do, so why don't you settle back down on the sofa, pull the lever on the recliner, or put the car into cruise. Ensure that you have something sweet on your plate, from a slice of carrot cake to a chocolate biscuit, or perhaps a cheeky tipple to keep you company. It is Christmas after all, and is it really ever too early for mulled wine? All the things to make sure that you have a poetic journey along with our 7 guests on the show today. My name is Damien B. Donnelly. This is Eat the Storms, and I hope you enjoy the show. And so let's get started with one of our returning Stormers, and this Stormer is a writer who grew up along the Atlantic, Gulf and Pacific coasts of the United States, but now calls Ireland home. She has a master's degree in creative writing from the University of Washington, and this year, the marvellous Drunk Muse Press published her debut collection, Ballast. Previously, she's been on the podcast reading from her prize-winning chapbook, Corona, Connemara and Half a Crown, which was the winner of the 2021 Fool for Poetry chapbook competition. She has poems published in places like Poetry Ireland Review, Banshee, Southward, 14 Magazine, One Hand Clapping, Channel, Cranogue, Tinderbox, Poetry Journal and others. Her poems also appear in dozens of anthologies. Reading from that debut full collection, this is Jamie O'Halloran.
This is Jamie O'Halloran, reading for you not from my home in the west of Ireland, but from Connecticut, where I'm helping my husband care for his mother. Thank you, Damien, for this brilliant poetic podcast with its rich diversity of voices. It is an honor and pleasure to participate. I am reading from Ballast, my debut collection published by Drunk Muse Press last autumn. The book groups poems loosely as elegies, response to the war in Ukraine, and about love. Visitation. We looked up from our garden supper, and there she was, moth quiet above our heads, a barn owl just past moonrise. We knew her down pale breast and valentine face blanched against night. In another world, we'd have called her Ghost for her silent passage. How long her flight across our table with its guttered candles, their coral wax pooled on cotton. My friend whispered, "Owls are an omen," finishing the sentence by naming her husband's sister, who'd been dying already for months. Next spring, the sister finished her deliberate death, while my friend began hers. If she had glimpsed Minerva in that bird, might she have stepped over the threshold of wisdom rather than through death's wide door? number. These days, I have been counting trees and their places. I counted 17 different trees in 5 places. That was before I counted the leaflets of the compound leaves of ash and rowan. That was before I counted those trees on the far side of the sheep wire fence that bounds the orchard. I counted the trees twice last week. In my dream, I am still counting. In my dream, I count you among the living. I counted on you among the living without counting the living. These days, I am where I used to count time, to the place where I count this day. I stopped minding the official count. I am minding it again. Variations reveal themselves in the way the spacing and shape of leaflets tell me rowan from ash. These days, I see this is how I count trees and friends who stiffened into trees. These days, I count them with the dying cells I shed in sleep. They are the leaves I count. I count them in groves, columns of salt. My grandmother talks to my mother. I left County Mayo. God bless me. What left me was the reigning rhyme of my mother's name, dried with the old tongue like kelp swashed on the beach. I kept my name, but my sister wouldn't have hers. Bridget became Dahlia. Is that where we broke off? Too fine she was herself, with me still in service before your father gave me my home. Each brother gone, back to Sheshya, dead or vanished into drink. Boys never born were dug from the grave of my womb, the sons who came before and after you, daughter, I kept until they took you away. Or did I give you over when I tried to disappear in the water of life that I swallowed thirsty for home? Heirloom. Some days I wear my mother's earrings, the sort I never put on except for days when I need our birthstone, opals that touched her to touch my skin. But I wear them in this heart, pierced by her absence, perplexed by her love. A section of the poems deal with the war in Ukraine and also with hosting, as we've been hosting refugees from Ukraine since shortly after the war began. Hosting. She and I live not together in this house where we are apart from our husbands. Mine sleeps across the sea, caring for his mother. Hers is 211 kilometers away in a refugee center he chose instead of here. There, he lectures online when Kyiv is powered up. We don't talk about our separations, isolated as we are by culture, language. Words telling time and place are blurry. Tricky saying in, out, now, tomorrow. My voice is so easily interpreted, so readily betrays my intentions. Patience is the best tool for translation. Soft, soft, smile, I coach myself. The kitchen has never been so tidy. We wipe our traces away, offer each other a stew or sweet. She asks for jobs in the garden and cries, uprooting each weed. And then there are some love poems, and I'll read one. Out of the gutter into the frame. I am a child of my age. It's a split age where opposites attract like iron schmutz to the magnet calm that lets me quaff the bald man in the cardboard toy. I forget what I want to remember, but am plagued by memories, like I'm a field and they're a cloud of locusts eating winter's store. Dust rains in my eyes, gravity flies in my face. What I let drop bounces back into my grip. All the tired analogies crowd me. Butterflies setting free, nevers meant to be. What I attract is everything I have abandoned until I stand, helpless pin, bowled down by the lucky strike of love. Thank you.
And now, from the United States, we are heading to the United Kingdom for another very welcomed returning guest here on Eat the Storms, who was first with us in one of our earliest seasons, and I am always delighted when he comes back to visit. He has had poems published in numerous publications over the years, including Family Down Journal, The Madrigal Press, and his poetry books include Ariel's Sweet Shop from Alien Buddha Press, The Breadcrumb Trail, published by Jane's Studio Press, and now his new collection, This Joyful Interlude, which is also published by Jane's Studio Press and comes with a beautiful cover art by Jane Cornwall. Here today to read from that collection, it's always a pleasure to have on the podcast, Lawrence Moore.
Hi, I'm Lawrence Moore, and I'm delighted to be making my 6th appearance on Eat the Storms. Today I'll be performing 6 poems from my latest collection, This Joyful Interlude, recently released by Jane's Studio Press. This joyful interlude delves deeply into a host of things fleeting by nature. Its pages speak of hopes, memories, doubts, desires, and of my heartfelt affinity for the natural world. I'm going to begin with birdsong. In moment of weakness left prone to its lies, you merge with the darkness assuming disguise, feel nothing unbroken, magnificence feigned, belligerent truth in the cruelties of rain, the dove's intimations, the nightingale's scorn, when just beyond vision your last muse is born. They come soaked in China's through reticent sphere, bereft of direction, pre-chosen to steer, contentious, confusing, supposing, perhaps. It's hard in the desert to turn on the taps. 2 minds twist and tango with flitter and fray. Soft background of birdsong cheeps. Courage now, stay. Fresh cogs and new levers, spike cleaver, spurn claw. Cruel storm oft encountered shall bluster no more. Volcanoes and tremors of confidence killed, when shared with the right one, denuded, distilled. A risk must be taken, this safety zone fled. We can't sing forever alone in your head. Is it my place to interfere? I've inherited the blink of an eye I would like to put to use, assuming, of course, my knots untie and their meanings grow less obtuse. But what should be done with this fleeting space where flowers bloom and fall, and so often get trampled beneath my feet, should I choose any course at all? There's a canticle glinting yearnful hints that I ams could turn into wears, But when people seem happy the way things are, is it my place to interfere? And what kind of coinage might one bid in exchange for true reason why? This suitcase of worries held above by thin limbs, neither young nor spry, succumb to misgiving, then all is lost from a blue evanescent eye. Hibernation. 12 overtures from purest, softest strings, 6 dozen lustsome dainties freshly baked. If wishes worked, I'd speed them all to you. Salam, arrivederci, fare thee well. These dottings of the I's, those crossing T's, pronouncements for the slender weeks to come. Still bashed and safe and warm below the ground, salacious sprite subversions from your scent shall tease them round the bleakest, darkest delves. Pink bedroom, strewn with crimson, saffron laced, 18 bewhiskered watchmen taking turns, 5 prayers of peaceful midnights woven through. Cast off your shoes, your socks, then close your eyes. Surrender on a mattress sinking deep. Let springtime be the prince to kiss your cheek. As angels might. Moonstruck to never recover, no cream, no cure. Festooned in new suit of armour like days of yore. Rehearsing clandestine assignments first serenade. Perceiving no binding inflictions past choices made. Expectant this heart on arrival these insides flung. Marooned as I was in cold harbour, I knew you'd come. With your wonders, your traumas, your tears through the dead of night. Ascending, transporting, redeeming as angels might. Moonstruck, the world is your oyster, for me slim hope. Defeated I feel an inception, self-conscious gauche. Reversing in time to a place the sun must have shone. Bemoaning, berating, receding, still dreaming on. Nose diving and squinting through oceans of chalk or brine. Envisioning somehow, warm hand I would hold in mine. Mysterious pilgrim, fair puzzled start anew. Examine dark skies with me, become moonstruck too. Puss in Boots. Because this all has to be for something that makes sense. Because of Cupid's omission and Kismet's recompense. Because the stars rotate in a swirl round the Milky Way. Because the river must feed the ocean, the streams repay. Because squadrons of pigs dawn's heat upon a morning frost. Because licorice, gingerbread, chocolate spread, candy floss. Because each little thing you assume I've famed runs true. Because heaven on earth voluptuous verse and dew. Because the diva's high quaver the soul singer's baritone. Because the gods will accept it, their wandering clouds condone. Because often a sentence was shortened in clemency. Because Edwin and Jane deserve it and so do we. Because soundless confessions and twinkles in our eyes. Because harmonic progressions and trust beneath sunset skies. Because where many trees were riven, you'll now find shoots. Because Romeo, Juliet, Tinkerbell, Puss in Boots. This final poem was inspired by a couple of cheerful characters who I occasionally get to see from my office window. Below the Buddleirs. From nowhere, neighbour's garden, 2 gnomes occurred, grinning and waving together with their bright and bushy beards. Perhaps they failed to appreciate the Buddleirs at their feet, already plotting a path to next year's sunshine. For when next summer arrived, they were good as buried. My brother's sister's cousins came and went, not mentioning beards, lacking the memory for sensing all waves beneath. Likewise, I am a disappearing gnome. One day, having watched me disperse in smoke from chapel chimney pot, you will scatter my ashes in a field of butterflies, brandishing goodbyes, but when you do, cast a glance below the Buddleirs, and know I am waving too. That's it from me. Thank you for listening, and many thanks also to Damien for the pleasure of appearing once more on your brilliant podcast.
Now, next up, we have two guests, two new voices to Eat the Storms, each reading one poem, both performance pieces. And the first is a Dubliner who spent the past 10 years living in Manchester, building up a marketing career while working on his debut novel. This poetry exploration is relatively new to him, and so I'm delighted to welcome him as he develops his poetic voice. This is Desmond Dowling.
We all fucked off. The good times are here, tigers roaring, the general consensus. After school, 2009 was supposed to be our time. That's what they told us. Want a job, a car, a mortgage? Go on, sure, show us. Eric and Charlie had a chat years back, and that was that. Our system is matchless. There's loads of jobs. My dad's a lecky, he'll make you an apprentice. He drives a Lexus. Senseless. Don't fancy a trade? Try and be a DJ or work in IT. Maybe a PA, PR, HR. Play your guitar. Either way, in 5 years you'll be a CEO chilling with Bono and Drico, drinking a Lily's Bordello. Tell Jerry Ryan to lay off the coke and that I said hello. Go to work, then have a few pints. Don't worry, your life is sorted. Yes, the good times are here. The drinks are starting to get dear, but we can afford it. The tigers roaring, wages are soaring, excited to wake up on Monday morning. It's boom time, bubble burst. The tiger we are all now mourning. Parents and teachers told us to go to college. It'll be over in a few years. It's the best place for us. That was their warning. It's not just us, it's a global issue. Financial, not warming. A scary story. Who wrote it? Those brothers, not Grimm, Lehman. From clubs to gaffs, thinking of the US or Oz. It'll be grand, just stay, man. It didn't get any better. I can't even afford a new Abercrombie sweater. Saw your dad at Dole queue. Feels like they stopped building houses forever. College is over, but how can I move out when my new best friend is the postmaster? Whole country's gone down the drain, but no plumbers remain. A bleeding disaster. It's not just the tradies, it was the original pandemic. No if, buts, or maybe. Teachers, doctors, nurses, even the lads who drive hearses. A whole tradition, a whole generation disperses. To the four corners gone reminds me of an old song. Forget Bondi Beach, Botany Bay still feels like a prison. My friends left. London, Toronto, New York and Sydney. Jesus lads, I even know a fella who lives in Ho Chi Minh City. 10, 15 years gone and yet the government is still yet to take pity. I can't even afford to live in my own home city. But it's alright, don't worry, I'm doing okay. I'm living here long enough, I'm settled and I'm earning good pay. Sure, I don't know the neighbours down the way and my kids have the wrong accent, but what can I say? I didn't have a choice, I barely had a voice, but I still choose to rejoice, for I know where I'm from. That fair city where the girls are so pretty. I should know, 'cause one of them's with me. The home of spice bags and chippers, not chippy. I just wish me friends and family were with me. The biggest fear now is getting that call to hear someone is sickly. It's a place now of summer and Christmas, quick visits. Often enough that you hope your ma doesn't miss us. You ask if I will come back home for good, I say, definitely, maybe. The longer I'm gone, the oasis I remember becomes more distant, more hazy. Subtle changes you don't notice are stark and faze me. But I miss it, and you. That's why I'll never really fully answer what I will do. I'm afraid what I know to be true. That home is just out of reach now, except for those lucky few. We all fucked off. If only we knew then what we do now. Maybe none of this would have come true.
And now it's time to welcome a newbie to Ireland, a non-binary Latin writer from Miami in Florida in the United States. His family is Spanish and Brazilian. As a third culture child who slides in and out of confines, she seeks to use language as a way of bridging divides, with poetry exploring transitions, transformations, community, destruction, and much more. Yesterday at the Irish Writers' Centre, I was delighted to hear her read at our Taking the Mic as part of our members' seasonal gathering. And so today, what a joy it is to hand you over to Luisa Aparisi França.
So my name is Luisa Aparisi França. I'm a poet who's originally from Miami, Florida, and I moved to Dublin in 2023 for grad school and also to leave the US for good and get my EU citizenship with the increasingly destabilizing political climate in the United States. This poem, This Small Peaceful Life, is one of my reflections as I was getting ready to leave the country. This small, peaceful life. You kiss the nape of my neck, tip of the tongue dancing at the edge of daybreak. A crescent moon of teeth staining me purple. We balance on the balls of our feet, legs tangled in knots now, like the nests of the birds you always find twisted together without reason, but happy to be there all the same. I think a lot about birds. The fine, complicated muscle of the wing, the fine-tipped nails and bones of your hands, the tight bend and raise for liftoff. My own frustration when I realize that my left arm is weaker than my right as I try to raise a kettlebell above my head, to be larger than who I am, to be ready, because the only way, always, is forward, is through. As we stand at the muted marshes of traffic, taking in its blurred edges, all of the junk pushing us this way and that, it feels like we're floating on the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. How being surrounded by lackluster makes you reach for every beautiful stray thread you can find, like chickens combing a field for rice. Maybe it's dumb, but I don't really care. What else is there to do other than give each other resin-trapped flowers at the end of each long, inexplicable sadness? I give because I know what it means to want. What does it mean to be rich in this world? I cast you out and away from my flesh, or try to, in the spirit of flexibility. By now, I think you know how important space is to me. I plan a lot on my days off. I think about what neighborhood to rent an apartment in Dublin, what I'm going to cook when I see you, and even though I don't actually have the time to do it, I think about how cute it would have been to have had you do your graduation walk in your apartment, Tycho dressed in tiny professorial robes and a tam graduation cap, dusting them off to send off one last cohort before retirement, his soft little belly draped in academic regalia as you'd walk down the hall, my lips ready to start kissing your legs if you so much as stumble. I love in leaning, like an apprehensive tower of Pisa, always unsure if my much is too much, every question out of my mouth an attempt at tracing without touching. Because what if I speak you wrong for real? Every time I see a bird, I think of you. How you could hold that one, and even the one anxiously perching inside of me. 3 ducklings, 3 wrens. They say good things come in threes, and could I be your third good thing? What does it mean to be deserving? In Ursula Le Guin's essay, The Carrier Bag Theory, she talks about how story arcs should be built around resolution, not conflict. I need to believe that people want to care for me as much as I want to care for them, that there is an instinct to hold me and say a soft word, even after the dawn has risen and I am no longer capable. Laziness is a lie. We look for explanations in the bar sink where Melissa had a habit of placing a small cup of vinegar to keep fruit flies away, in case we ever had an inspection. Wondering if she was left-handed or right-handed, if maybe the reason she shot herself was because she already knew what an aging body would be subjected to. There is no respect for things as they grow smaller, and I hate how we're not allowed to plead. They say men only soften in defeat when they realize that they're not special, they're superhuman, which is so laughable because how fucking stupid is it to be a hero? My greatest fear is that my promise will wear off before I even get a chance to complete the mission. Like Atlas holding up the sky by its fraying edges, or that scene in Spider-Man 2, where he's trying to stop a subway car from falling off of a broken railway, gripping cables in both hands, arms fanned out behind him in painful crucifixion, using his own body as a deaccelerant, sinews straining and screaming. When I think of my brother, mind split, I think about the couple who got lost driving around at night and ended up in an olive grove, laughing. How in this country, we are obsessed with both believing we are superhuman while simultaneously entertaining a pathological desire to continue on with business as usual. I think what I'm trying to say is that even in daydreams, our environments can cause us to perform in reactionary ways. Still, 2 days out of the year, we can find a cold beach to swim at. I live my life in bursts now, like a stubborn engine, because why would I want to miss all of the speckled good that stains the world? One of my friends is moving away. I didn't think it would hurt so much, but I'm starting to learn that my heart deals with love in stages, calcifying feeling into stalactites, fearful that you'll disappear or disagree. I have to remind myself that we are more than our bodies. As I cry into the risotto, thinking about the kids who won't be given the time or the grace to unpack themselves, as I did. You cannot contain possibility, much less the possibility of my existence, and that alone makes me feel good. This small, peaceful life, don't take it from me. I feel like I've lived so many lives already. My life, your life, our lives, raised for all to see like a toast at a wedding. I want to be everybody's best man or good guest. If you're safe, then I'm safe. Even though I know that the world exists far beyond my own small kingdom. Buildings, trees, effigies, I want you to make a water tower out of me, the way Caravaggio bent light or Bernini carved stone. But do it without blood, without burning a face to seal an expression or marring a body in exchange for a pietà. I look into the mirror and say, my body is not fossil, but imprint. My body is not future, but present. You cannot erase me, deface me. The night is still young.
My next guest was with us last year in the Storms Journal when we celebrated our Dublin issue, and he introduced us to Mousy Nolan. And today he is joining us in celebration once again, this time a celebration of his debut poetry collection Gardening Leave, which has just been published by 451 Editions. And he will be reading today from that collection and also from the poem which appeared in the Storms last year. He is a professor of cultural psychology, teaches at the MFA in creative writing at the University of Limerick, where I met him earlier this year when they had their creative writing festival, and he is also half of the post-punk duo Dopamine Fix, who released their first single, Welcome to the Shark Tank, earlier this year. It is always a pleasure to welcome back to Eat the Storms, Eoin Devereux.
My name is Eoin Devereux. I'm a poet from Limerick City, Ireland. I'm going to read some poems from my first poetry collection called Gardening Leave, just published by 451 Editions. The first poem is called All Belonging. After 4 years scrubbing floors in Brooklyn, Bridget O'Sullivan returned to sell root vegetables from a sturdy oak table placed across her front door near Stony Thursday Corner. Cloaked in all weathers, with just 2 Ranks flour bags loosely stitched together, Dominic Kennedy, a stocky carman, carried heavy loads from Limerick docks. Having a gift with animals from his earliest years, he stabled horses for undertaker Joseph Cross and ferried the city's poor and destitute to their final place of rest. A factory hand from Carley's Bridge, headstrong Annie Gray, gulled the Wexford Constabulary. She conveyed guns and bullets, secreted in the folds of her robin-starched petticoats across the sloping town of Enniscorthy. From Salthouse Lane, Eugene Devereux was the son of a lime burner. The noble trade of mechanic was his initial calling. He fashioned bicycles for 5 and 3 and was imprisoned for half a year in rat-infested Frangach, having fought for the new republic. All belonging to me came from the land. All belonging to me worked with their hands. My mother Anne, an assistant bookbinder, my father Eamon, a charge hand fitter, all made me who I am. While a great deal of Gardening Leave deals with working class experience and my own working class background, it also examines the world from the perspective of the middle class, and it engages a lot with middle class fear. This is a poem called Foxes. During her regular morning walk, Mrs. Flynn stopped to warn me about foxes. They're coming out here, she said, from those welfare estates in town, throwing shapes, drinking, shifting, spitting, travelling by e-scooter, bus, bicycle or stolen car. And, she added, I have it on good authority that their ringleader is a guy called Ginger Hickey. It's not just our designer chickens, deluxe wheelie bins, or bespoke Angora rabbits they're after. Oh no, my new infrared doorbell camera has captured them casing houses, checking windows, doors, even our pristine 25-2 Tesla cars. Shy Brian in number 3 told me that just last week 2 Todds in designer black hoodies jumped a shop counter demanding chicken rolls, cigarettes and cider. Mrs. Flynn, he said, you should have seen the go-hack of them with their blood-red docks, fade cuts and bling. And Shy Brian from number 3 added, sometimes, Mrs. Flynn, there are vixens wearing nothing but pyjamas, false eyelashes smothered in fake tan, all the while suggestively shaking their BBLs. It's like the Kardashians. These foxes, Mrs. Flynn warned, are a serious threat to our community. We are the people who get up early in the morning, and now there is talk of more of them coming here from out foreign. That will be even worse. Those foreign foxes haven't a word of English. Something will have to be done by someone. We'll have to gate the estate, close the borders, remain vigilant, or else there'll be anarchy, a complete breakdown of everything we have worked for, of everything we hold dear. I was delighted last year to have a poem included in the Storms Journal, the special edition on Dublin. This is Dublin 2. Etched on the upright post, underneath my Brooks leather saddle. A simple cipher tells the place, the week, the month, the year I was first assembled. The alpha-numeric code reveals I was crafted by Dublin hands in an alpine-roofed factory where the dodder kisses the liffey at famed Hanover Quay. Mouser Nolan from Inchicore, indentured for just 2 years, built my sturdy rally frame. When he was done, charge hand Frankie Byrne, born and reared in nearby Ringsend, added tires of Indian rubber and a shiny St. Christopher bell. Pat Morrissey, a labouring man from Irishtown, pumped my tires, oiled every crank, nut, bolt and moving part, before proudly wheeling me over Butt Bridge to Amiens Street Station, secured in the guard's van and dispatched on the evening goods train. The sloping, sleepy town of Enniscorthy, my final destination. So Dublin 2 has a sister poem, and it's called Revolutions, and it tells the story of the bike when it leaves Dublin 2 and ends up in Enniscorthy. Liam Doyle bought me from Eoin Devereux, cycle agent Enniscorthy, for 5 shillings a week on the Never Never. By trade a miller, I transported him at sunrise to Davis's dusty flour mills and wheeled him home in the evenings to Lower Irish Street via a thirsty detour. I was chained to the railings where he met his friends in Billy Stamp's fine establishment on Market Square. Some 5 years later, it was a small repair job, a slight tear on my Brooks leather saddle, that reunited cycle agent and miller. Devereux recruited Doyle to the Wexford A Company of the Irish Volunteers. In April 1916, I played my part in the 4-day revolution, ferrying grub to the Athenaeum, carrying ammunition to the men who took over Dodo Roach's castle and the stumpy windmill on Vinegar Hill. I escorted my owner to patrol Scarrawalsh, Ferns, Oilgate, Ballycarney, and with word of surrender, back to his home in Irish Street, Enniscorthy. My final poem from Gardening Leave is a poem called A Garden Widow. He's on gardening leave, suspended with full pay, and by Jesus he's taken them at their word. All he wants to do these days is garden and make fucking compost. He has my heart broken, and of course he never asks me how I am. It's all bin heat and the careful mixing of carbon and nitrogen. He talks non-stop about the layering of shredded cardboard and grass cuttings, and sometimes about dying. I'm married to a man who pisses into the compost bin once a week to speed up the process of decomposition.
And now to another new collection to celebrate on Eat the Storms today, and this one is called Smatterings of Cerulean, and it is from a very familiar voice to listeners of Eat the Storms, and a familiar voice to those who listen to another fantastic podcast, 1000 Shades of Green, which I'm thrilled to say I have been a part of. This author is the writer of Things My Mother Left Behind, which was published by Baxter House, Tiger Lily, an ekphrastic poetry collection which was published by JC Studio Press in collaboration with Jane Cornwall. And now this collection which you're going to hear from today, Smatterings of Cerulean, a collection of short poems accompanied by photographs by Ken Whiteock, published by Dark Winter Press. Her poetry has appeared in places like The Storms, Cranogue, Door is Ajar, California Quarterly, The Opiate Magazine, and Rust and Moth. She writes the blog From the Edge of Darkness and, as I mentioned earlier, hosts the wonderful podcast 1,000 Shades of Green and Story Sessions. I'm very pleased to welcome back to Eat the Storms my dear friend, Susan Richardson.
Hi Damien, I am so thrilled to be back on Eat the Storms. Thank you so much for including me and for all of your support of my work over all these years. It's been an absolute joy listening to Eat the Storms for all these seasons, and it is without question my very favorite poetry podcast. So I'm delighted today to be able to share a handful of poems from my newest collection, Smatterings of Cerulean, a collection of short poems accompanied by the photographs of Ken Whiteock. I'm going to start with the opening poem from the book. It's titled Bone Buried. Each year begins the same, bone-buried memories slicing a solemn lip. Gritty bites of frayed last days, skinning teeth to the root. I wait for light to fade, watch death take hold, resume the task of recovering my shattered pieces. This next one is titled Butcher. Captor of time, quick to slay the flick of summer's tongue, dawn will find her plucking mourning doves, frosty fingers eager for butchering. Not even the threat of daybreak cracks her resolve. Savage. Mother's echo rises from the earth, catches on the lip of a flame. Time turns savage in my hands. This next one is called Starving. I dream of you in flight, song-swallowing sky glider, pitch perfect, blue as summer morning. Awakening to a tethered tongue, I collide with silence, soot snaking into starving corners, your final resting place, vacant. So this next poem is probably my favorite in the collection. It's titled Until the Room is Airless. Signs of life hover between notes, falter on the bank of a cloudy eye. My father swallows silence, each gasping breath threatening to be the last. He no longer sees me. Still I sing to him. I sing until the room is airless, until the moon breaks into feathery shards, until the last crack of thunder rumbles in his chest. I sing. This next one is titled Morning Breaks. I am a sharded gasp of girl, stripped of melody, wingless, plummeting into the open mouth of dusk as it screeches out the untamed darkness. It is a welcome fall deep into this blindness, breathless, waiting for morning to break and break again. And the final poem I'm going to share from Smatterings of Cerulean is the shortest poem in the book. It's titled Shore. I am an ocean at war with the sky. He is the shore. So the final poem I want to share today was recently published in Dark Winter Lit and nominated for Best of the Net. It's a poem where I got to write about my mom and dad in the same space, and it is very dear to my heart. It's called Even Sorrow Has a Melody. My mother sang to me before I was born, ivory melodies that urged me to grow and fill the empty space in her womb. On birthday mornings, she serenaded me awake just before the sun whispered onto the horizon, a moment we had shared since her fingers first brushed worry from my eyes. She chased the gray from rainy days with the tickling of piano keys, musical afternoons scampered over by hurried rabbits, consulting pocket watches, Siamese cats with sharp-toothed grins, and princesses turning in endless circles. When I was sad, she eased the weight of my tears with songs from our favorite musicals, let me sing the part of Evita, taught me even sorrow has a melody. My father gave us a soundtrack to mark the seasons of our lives. The thrum of guitar strings flooded our childhood summers, lazy afternoons filled with moon shadows, rainy day women and wishing we were willows. On car rides to chilly mountain retreats, he let us each choose a cassette to make the long journey feel shorter. We opened the windows and turned up the volume, a family of September renegades flying through hurricanes, determined to make it one way or another. Music lived on the tip of his tongue. He sang for the rising and falling of life, the stirring of pots and the emptying of cauldrons. He sang when he was happy and when grief took hold like a sickness. In a care home on a quiet autumn afternoon, my sister and I sat on the edge of his bed, singing his favorite songs, holding his hands as he took his last sips of air.
My final guest on the podcast today is a new voice to Eat the Storms, a process-based artist who uses text, drawing, film, song, dialogue and performance intervention. Their practice invites people to articulate their spaces in between to disclose new sights, histories and language. Their work is always political, with a capital P, and often playful, and empowers audiences to engage creatively and critically with themselves and the world. Their debut poetry collection has just been published by the wonderful Arachne Press, and today, reading from that collection, Home is a Place That Visits Me, a poetic narrative of home, trauma, childhood and family through poems in a series of monoprints, and today, accompanied by their own songs, this is Hannah Hull.
Hi, my name is Hannah Hull. My pronouns are they, them. and I'm an artist, musician and poet. And today I'm going to be reading to you from my debut collection, Home is a Place That Visits Me, published by Arachne Press. This piece is a series of small, sometimes tiny poems that form a larger narrative about childhood trauma, the home and the body and how these intertwine. Mark Waldron has described this work as a clear-eyed reckoning, and Claire Shaw has described that it hovers halfway between luminosity and darkness. Interspersed with the reading will be songs from my album Close to Home, which is a loose companion to this piece. The good house was good. It was origami, butterflies, stabilizers, soil, party dresses, tap shoes, frilly socks, the smell of Play-Doh and carpet and Mum's hairspray. It was cheese and tomato sandwiches and books. Every night, books, books, books. It was the world beneath the dining table and being baby brother's first word. Everything was magic. By the way, I live on a boat, so you may occasionally hear the sound of water lapping and birds and wind. So after a while, we find ourselves moving from the good house to the bad house. On the first night in the new house, we got chips from the chip shop and ate them straight from the wrapper, using packing boxes as tables. Under bare bulbs, the chip paper sweated into crisp cardboard and mingled with the dusty Victorian house. We had no idea what was about to happen. To every person who has ever turned on me, I cannot forgive you. I do not know how. I'm a 6-year-old girl in love with the world, singing out, what do you want to be? I remember each day it's sewed into me. I was only love. I was only love. To every person who has ever turned on me, I cannot forgive you. How would I know how? I'm a 6-year-old girl, big eyes to the world, screaming out, what do you want with me? I was only love. It's normal for children to believe in monsters, to check under the bed and behind the curtains and the wardrobe and the cupboards, and to check the windows and door handles and plug sockets, and to do it in a special, secret sequence, the one that is most effective, and another one just in case, every night, twice, or more as necessary, and say to the light switches, I know you're watching me. This is how to stop bad things happening. I've kept a lot of secrets from myself. One is that the house was haunted by an old woman who had lived there. She wanted her home to stay in the family. I remember now I told her, I don't believe in you. So in this book, one of the recurring motifs is moving on, and we find ourselves in another childhood home. We decorated and redecorated, filling in, sanding down, glossing over. But some things can't be covered up. Some cracks reveal and reveal. They are tectonic. As you face me in the night, naked and without sight, a shameless, nameless fight. If my body cannot lie, then why the fuck should I have nothing left to hide, hide. And as you sent my storm, fuck up the night and soothe the dawn, my silence starts to warm. Can you taste my acid light? Swallow the knot, I took the bind. As you face me in my night, Dad claimed that house as his purgatory and us as props for his atonement. Our bodies, living alongside his, became proof that his sins were forgiven. His truth reigned by the silencing of ours. Let sleeping dogs lie, he growled. It was hell. So I suppose it's time to go. Enemies are tapping on my broken window. All the seams are gonna show if you keep me in here. I'll keep the magic burning low. Keep it neat, keep it sweet, keep it in me. And while it isn't safe at home, I build my house in here. I've got to talk to the groundskeeper. I wanna be a no-bone keeper. So shake your little soul shaker. I'm gonna blow, I'm gonna blow. At the bottom I found the forgotten childhood ghost story. But you got to believe in the ghost or it never sets you free. I'll grow a deep shade of me. Maybe I'll remember why we go hunting. The moon can teach me how to sing and tell me when to bleed. I've got to talk to the groundskeeper. I want to be an old bone keeper. So shake your little soul shaker. I'm gonna blow, I'm gonna blow. I've got to talk to the groundskeeper. I want to be an old bone keeper. So shake your little soul shaker. I'm gonna blow, I'm gonna blow. I've kept a lot of secrets from myself. One is how much I love my dad. Only a stupid person would love him as much as I did. I didn't want to be stupid. Interspersed in the book are a series of about 30 monoprints which illustrate the poems. And I chose that technique for its kind of crude and childlike impression. Additionally, as part of the kind of world surrounding the book, I've also created a series of music videos that can be found on burningsalt.com or on YouTube by searching Burning Salt. Burning Salt being my musical pseudonym. I'll read one final poem. If the body were a house, mine is all facade, a trompe-l'oeil painted to please a passing king. If the body were a house, mine is a nest that everything good has flown. If the body were a house, which it is, mine is abandoned, good for the occasional squat party, but not much else. Or so derelict, it's worth nothing but the plot on which it crumbles, which is nowhere, but you're welcome to it anyway. So I've been Hannah Hull, reading from Home is a Place That Visits Me, my debut poetry collection, available from Arachne Press. If you're interested in the music you've heard, you can find that on Bandcamp under my musical pseudonym, Burning Salt, and you can also find me on Instagram as Burning Salt, where I share my art, music and poetry. Thank you so much to Eat the Storms for having me.
And just before we go, I'm going to leave you with 3 seasonal poems that step back in time. This first one is called Effects of Snow on Rue de Mauvais Garçon, 1997. Rue de Mauvais Garçon, or Street of the Bad Boys, was a street that I first lived on when I moved to Paris. I remember those rooftops under snowdrops, grey and glacial beneath. Chimneys conned by coal, reduced to crepuscular shuffles of a sooted Père Noël. I bought a tatty jumper that first year, to the right of the river before money afforded left bank prices. I lifted unwanted champagne from work, stored it on a bitty balcony grazing the spire of Notre Dame. poured it into a single glass on Christmas morning and staggered to church later in the hope of sleep under sermon and heated pew as chimneys shivered. I remember those rooftops and the seduction of youth, unaware how the cold had already made its way inside everything. And this second Festa poem is from my first full collection, Enough, which is published by the Hedgehog Poetry Press. And this mentions raclette, which in France is a very traditional winter dish. It originated in Switzerland, and you have a grill on the table and everybody grills their own meats and vegetables and covers everything over with a very strong smelling cheese. This is called Christmas in someone else's shirt. Christmas came with cozy discomfort. The chatter, the chaos, and the crowds growing greedy in the Galerie Lafayette. Under distraction of dome and the wonder of how any tree of such weight could hang from such a height, so far from root. We kissed in someone else's shadow, whispered in the absence of his voice. You poured absinthe into glasses too small to be of use and didn't blink when I complimented his cologne on the shirt you gave me afterwards. Later, I lay on his pillow and felt a breath judging the weight of my stay from a distance that was only temporary. Like the shadow I left on those sheets in that too big bed where our two tiny bodies felt so crowded amid all its soils. Like on Metro number 9, direction Marie Divry, on a Saturday in December, when breaths smelt of raclette and ricard and all the rest that are only ever seasonal scents. And this final poem is called The Great Thaw, and I wrote this in December 2020. It seems like a whole other lifetime ago. We fidget on settled sofas, tired of our tissue. Blankets beckon in the hot press, but we're not cold enough, not yet compressed. The seasons turned, though not quite enough. A man in shorts yesterday in the graveyard, not even shivering on the freshly turned since repressed earth. We talk of fairy lights, smaller tables, less chairs needed, more lights, candle lights, lights that need batteries, lights that will never light again. We fidget on the sofa, push hands down the sides, looking for all the things we can no longer find. Mom hasn't seen Frozen yet. Maybe this year. To feel numb. To conceal for a time, not to feel, to let it go. Let it melt away. As we fidget on the sofa with our tissue. Next year, we'll build that snowman again. Maybe. After the great thaw. Poetic peeps and gentle persons, in-betweeners, non-conformers, genders all and genders equal. We've reached the end of this 6th episode of Eat the Storms, the Poetry Podcast. My name is Damien B. Donnelly. I've been your host and producer, and thank you so much to you, the listeners, for tuning in on platforms like Spotify, Apple, Breaker, Podbean, Player FM, Overcast, Pocket Cast, Castbox, Podcast Addicts, iTunes, Amazon Music, and YouTube. And of course, most importantly, thank you to my star guests on the show today, who have been Jamie O'Halloran, Lawrence Murr, Desmond Dowling, Luisa Aparisi França, Eoin Devereux, Susan Richardson, and Hannah Hull. As always, you can head on over to eatthestorms.com, click on the section called Listen to the Podcast, and there you'll find a blog post for every episode. And in that blog post, you'll find photos, social media handles, websites, and bios on all of my guests on the show today, so you can find, follow, and be their utter and complete fantastic fans. Now, of course, as a reminder, while you're over at Eat the Storms, you can also pick up a copy of The Storms, our journal of poetry, prose and visual arts, which makes the perfect Christmas gift. In November this year, we launched our 5th issue with 89 contributors of poetry, prose and visual arts. It's a journal that's made here in Ireland, but with international contributors. A huge shout out and thank you to my issue 5 cohort, my sub-editor on this issue, Rona Green. Merry Christmas greetings to Rona and to all of my sub-editors so far. Gaynor Kane, Eileen Dupuer, Nithi Casa and Fiona O'Rourke. My love and greetings to you all. And just before I sign off, I'd like to say a huge congratulations to the 12 winners of the International Debut Novel Competition, which was held at the Irish Writers' Centre where I work on Thursday and Friday of last week. From 585 submissions from 37 countries, we had 6 international judges shortlist that number to 30, and then from those 30 bring it down to our 12 winners. And the winners get to sit face to face with agents and publishers and pitch their stories, and so skip the slush pile. We had over 26 agents, and on Thursday and Friday the winners did pitch after pitch after pitch after pitch, and it was an absolute honour, a pleasure, a joy, and such a privilege to be able to look after them for those 2 days and in all the weeks previous, and I wish them a huge success on their journey onward toward publication. So that's it from me. My name is Damien B. Donnelly. This has been Eat the Storms, a poetry podcast. We'll be back with you in another few weeks, just before Christmas, for the final episode of 2025. But in the meantime, I'll be finishing up work at the end of next week and then taking a little break, jetting off to England to see a very good friend, and then thinking of all the poetic things to do in 2026. So thank you, dear listeners, for making this year so successful, for tuning in, for listening, for buying the Storms Journal, for cheering, for shouting. If you're a poet and you've been on the show, or a prose writer or a visual artist and you've taken part in the journal, then thank you so much. Over the past 10 seasons, you have made my work so much more enjoyable. So until next time, indulge in the mulled wine, the merriment, the Christmas pies, the Brussels sprouts, the afternoon naps, the Sunday matinees, the marvels, the musicals and good old St. Nick. And until we meet again, of course, please ensure that you all stay bloody poetic.